Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to Levi. He's making a little guest appearance in here today. I want to do the eyeshadow palette tag that Samantha and Allie created and did off of a TikTok challenge tag thing. I don't know TikTok. I have an account there just so I can watch some creators, but you're never ever going to see me post one. I'm not a TikToker, so anyway, I don't know the world of TikTok, but it sounds like the Wild West. It sounds crazy, but I guess there is this tag going around on TikTok, and Samantha and Allie kind of converted it and made it into a YouTube tag, and it's about eyeshadow palettes, so as soon as I saw the title, I was like, I want to do that tag. So that's what we're going to do today, and I'm going to sit little Levi in his little seat, and we'll see if he'll play quietly. It's getting close to nap time, but I think I can do this video before his nap time so then I can edit while he's napping. That's my hope at least. Let's see what happens. Okay, so question or prompt, I guess, is more of what it is, but prompt number 1 is show your newest palette, and I'm so excited to show you guys this. It just came in a couple days ago. I just took pictures of it this morning, so now I can put it into my stash to use, but it is the Shroud Cosmetics Creepy Cute and Divinity palette. I've been wanting these palettes for so long, but I finally just bit the bullet because I heard that the Divinity palette is going out. He's happy, I promise you. He's playing with the fish. But he just likes to grunt. I guess he's talking to me. But anyway, this Divinity palette, once it is out of stock, they are not restocking it. So once this is gone, it's gone. So I was like, okay, I'm going to buy it now. So I did go ahead and buy it. There's just something about the grunge in this palette that it's always really attracted me. So I picked this up. I haven't even touched it. Like, that's how brand new these are. And then the other one was a Creepy Cute palette. I bought it in the bundle, so it's a little bit cheaper. And then I used Beauty Bean's discount code to make it a little bit cheaper. So overall, I am a happy camper. So excited to finally own these. Cannot wait to get into them. But yeah, they are my newest palette in my collection. I have not even touched them yet. I can't wait. They look so pretty. The next one was show your oldest palette, and this is another one that's very easy for me because I have the LORAC Pro-to-Go. This one I could probably, actually I meant to do this before, but I got this to review on my blog. Okay, so I just typed in Pro-to-Go on my website. I reviewed it in February of 2014. So I got it, I remember getting it at the beginning of the year. So I must have got it around January, and that's how long this has been in my collection. This was actually sent to me as PR. It was one of the first brands that I very timidly reached out to and was like, hey, do you want to send me product? And they said yes. I still don't know why they said yes, because literally I was teeny tiny, just starting out. I had maybe a handful, maybe not even that many beauty related contents on my blog, and somehow they said yes. And so this was one of the palettes that they had sent me, and it is the last remaining item of the palettes they've sent me that I'm still holding on to. Oh, you getting sleepy? And yeah, so it just has a very special place in my heart. And can I tell you that it took me so long to realize you could open this up all the way. Let me open it up for you. You can open it up like this, and I probably owned this for years before I realized that. I thought this is how it was, and you open this side and then you could close it and you could open, getting talented here, this side to use this side. That's how I thought it was for so long, and I would see people having it laid out like this. But for some reason in my mind, I was like, oh, that's a newer, edition, and they must have this longer palette. No, it's this palette. I just did not realize it. But yeah, this is definitely nostalgic for me when I think about my makeup collection, and I don't really ever have plans to get rid of it just because has so many good memories when I think back to when I was first starting out, and I still am beyond shocked that LORAC was like, yeah, we'll send you some stuff when I was literally a nobody. So yeah, definitely my oldest and one of my sweetest memories. Okay, next one is your most expensive palette. Now, I did not go through my whole entire eyeshadow palette collection and look up the prices for everything, but just thinking off the top of my head what I know in my collection that's expensive, I figured out that it is the Kat Von D Metal Matte palette. I bought this when it was like a limited edition Christmas collection, and it was $60. So that's the most I've ever spent on an eyeshadow palette. But yeah, here's what it looks like. I remember finally getting this and thinking it was so colorful. I just was in color heaven when I bought this, and now looking at it, I'm like, it's pretty neutral leaning. I mean, it's got color to it, but they're very definitely neutral friendly when it comes to color. But anyway, this is definitely my most expensive and one of my largest palettes. It's just so big and bulky. But yeah, I bought the Kat Von D Metal Matte, and I remember at the time I didn't even pay full price because $60 was a lot. I had a gift card and a discount, and I bought it with that. So I didn't even spend that much money on it. But just going off the retail value of everything in my collection, I'm pretty sure $60 is the most expensive in my collection. Next one was the least expensive in your collection. I feel like everyone's doing the little e.l.f. bite-sized palette, and I could say that because I think they're even marketed as a palette, but in my eyes they're quads because there's 4 of them. So for this whole tag I was like, let me do 5 and up, because that in my eyes, if it has at least 5, it's like a palette. If it has 4, it's a quad. If it has 3, it's a trio. That's just how it is in my mind. So that's kind of how I did. If you wanted to include you know, quads in this, then that would be it because it's $3. But if I'm talking about palettes that have more than 5 shadows, it would be the Wet n Wild little, what are these even called? Color Iconic palettes? Comfort Zone, we had Rose in the Air, and Not a Basic Peach. These are the 3 I have in my collection. I think my favorite one was this one, Not a Basic Peach. But yeah, these are $4.99 if I remember correctly. Okay, got him a new toy. He might be happy for a little bit. But yeah, these would have to be at their $4.99, and they come with 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10 shadows. And yeah, they're really cute. For 10 shadows, paying $5, or what did I say, $4.99? Such a good price. And if you're someone into neutrals, I mean, the quality of these are nice. And I remember when they upgraded to having mattes in them, I remember really loving the quality of their mattes. So yeah, this would have to be my least expensive when it comes to palettes that have more than 4 shadows. Next prompt was your everyday palette. And this is so hard for me because you guys know I'm not someone who has an everyday palette. I'm constantly changing up from month to month. I have a Shop My Stash and I have my set palettes that I go to. So I'm constantly changing up. I'm not the type of person that, you know, if I'm not doing anything special, I go back to the same palette or the same look. But for the sake of this video and having to answer something, I decided to grab and decide a palette that is kind of like my comfort zone. I could get super neutral, I could get super glam from it. That to me is like an everyday for me. Anyway, I picked the Killer Purr from Menagerie Cosmetics because while this is really neutral leaning, I love the type of neutrals. The hues of these neutrals are very much me. I like these more warm mustardy. The orange, it's not like a bright orange. It's definitely that dirty burnt type of orange. And then I love this shade here. I love the green. There's just a lot in here I like, and I like this color as well. So I feel like in here I could get a neutral look, but I could also get colorful look. I can get that grunge, which to me, grungy looks are definitely an everyday type of look. So I had to give this, whenever I think of a neutral palette that I'm very comfortable with, that I think is beautiful, that I love to go to, and that I can see is every day for me, Killer Purr always gets the top. Okay, so you're not going to hear Levi anymore. He ended up being really tired and I just laid him down. So you might hear a little bit now and then because he is in the next room, but that's just him settling and whatnot. So let's continue on. The next was your most colorful palette. And this was really easy for me because I just finished reviewing the September Rose Slush palette. So one and done. This definitely wins it when it comes to most colorful because there's just so much color when it comes to this palette. Like, I have a lot of colorful palettes in my collection because I love color, but I don't think I have any other palette that has so many colors and then so many different hues of those colors. So this just wins it all around. I feel like I'm super washed out. One sec. No idea what my lighting is doing, but I hope that's better. Anyway, yeah, I have a lot of colorful palettes, but none have so many colors and so many different types of colors and finishes and stuff as this palette. So definitely easy for me when it comes to my most colorful. It is the September Rose Slush palette. Okay, my smallest palette. And I should have said this before I even started, but I'm going to try not to repeat any palette. So I might mention like, oh, I would have picked this, but since it's already picked, I'm trying to pick something else just to be able to talk about more palettes instead of repeating them too much. So anyway, when it comes to my smallest palette, all that to say, I have to pick 2 because I can't figure out, you have to tell me, which one do you think is smaller? I have the I Heart Revolution Heartbreaker palette, which is very teeny tiny. And then I have the Rodial Smoky Eye Sculpt Shadow palette, which looks like this. So like, I was looking at them, I'm like, they're both pretty tiny, but you know, this one is like long and skinny and this one's a square. So like, I was trying to decide, I feel like if you kind of took them and put them into the same shape, they kind of both be the same size. So I was like, I'll just do both because I can't figure out which one is smaller. But yeah, these 2 are by far, when we're talking about palettes that have more than 4 shadows, this is definitely my smallest. They're just tiny, cute little palettes. I just talked about this in my Palette Palooza, but this I haven't reached for in years. But this I remember being really pleased and surprised with the quality of the mattes. And then there's only one shimmer yet, or no, yeah, just one shimmer, but it's just so neutral and everything to look back on it. But I remember the quality being very nice. But yeah, this is just a teeny tiny little palette, though I want to say this teeny tiny little palette costs like $50 or something. So tiny but mighty. Okay, biggest palette, again, like I said, I'm not going to repeat any, so like, I feel like the Metal Matte palette is big, but again, that's long ways. So when I was thinking of just big palettes, another really big one in my collection that came to mind was the Glamlight Burger palette, because this baby is just it's big. So I'm gonna give it to this palette to get that prize. Yeah, this is a fun palette, really nice and colorful. I like the mix of, you know, the yellows and the greens that you get in this palette. Mine looks a hot mess with all of the, it's not very pleasing to look at anymore, or pleasing to like, oh, do I want to create anything with it? Because I see it and I'm like, ugh. But I remember having a lot of fun with this. This was a palette I started to use right after I moved into this house, so it has a lot of really neat memories attached to it and very hard memories attached to it because we were moving into a new house. But when I was using this, my husband was still living in Virginia and I was super sick with morning sickness, so I remember how sick I was, but at the same time I remember there were many days when I went to reach for this, I was just wanting to put on makeup and feel good, and I remember a lot of fun looks and very bright looks that kind of made me feel a little bit more put together than I felt on the inside. So all around, it just had some, it's got neat memories. It's neat trying these palettes for a month because oftentimes whatever happens in that month during that time of trying it, I kind of associate with that palette. So there's so many palettes I look around and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember trying that when this was going on in my life, or you know, like this, I remember trying this when I was just so sick and just feeling terrible, but putting this on, having something bright made me feel normal and whatnot. So anyway, yeah, getting back to the topic at hand, this is a very large palette. It is just, it's big and bulky, it's fluffy, it's everything. So yeah, easy win here, Glam Lightburger palette, you're huge. Next is the palette with the best memory. Now, like I just said, I didn't realize this was coming on next, but like I just said, I have a lot of memories with palettes. Whatever I'm doing, you know, whenever I'm using them and life happens, there's a lot of really good memories or bad memories, but just talking about good memories, I have a lot of memories associated with those palettes. I always pick the Chocolate Bar Gold palette for this answer because I tried it right after I had my son Gideon, and so I have a lot of great memories of, you know, just trying to be a mom of two and watching the two children play or interact. I mean, Gideon was a baby. He wasn't really interacting, but I remember having so much fun watching Olivia interact with Gideon and just watching them grow up. And yes, it was a hard time of adjusting, and there were so many meltdowns and temper tantrums when it came to 2-year-old Olivia, but still it was just such a really pretty time in my life. It snowed, we got snowed in Virginia, so there was just a lot that happened that I associate with that palette. But for the sake of this video, I was like, you know what, there's one memory that I'm never going to get rid of this palette because of the memory that's attached to it. And it'd have to be the LORAC and Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales. I was excited for this when it launched because I, you know, really enjoyed Pirates of the Caribbean, the first video. I thought it was really fun. It was just a really good, you know, piratey movie when it came to just your stereotypical, I guess you could say, pirate movie. I felt like it kind of checked all the boxes for me personally. So I was excited for the collab. And I remember buying the palette on launch day, but then LORAC actually sent me the collection and I was so happy and excited because I got a little bit early. I sat down to film my first video because at the time of this launching, I was mulling it over and I was like, you know, I could do a YouTube channel. I could do it, you know, you could do it, Katie. And so when I got this palette, I was like, I'm going to do it. And I sat down and I started recording, and I think I recorded like 5-10 minutes. And then I just shut the camera off and deleted the footage. I was like, no, Katie, you're not doing it. And I didn't do it. And it wasn't until, I don't know how long after this came out that I started a YouTube channel, but it was a couple months into being pregnant with Gideon that I finally was like, I am going to start a YouTube channel, and I did. But while I never started the YouTube channel with this, whenever I look at this, this was kind of that first plan to that first attempt at trying to do a YouTube channel. And I kind of sat down and went through the motion of like how I would do everything and just kind of started and tried it. And even though I never shared it, I never posted it, I never started my channel at that time, it has a lot of like special meaning to me because I know what went on behind the scenes, and I went on to make like a really cool blog post about it. I took some really cool pictures, I did some looks and whatnot. And at that time, I was also doing tutorials on Instagram, so I was getting more comfortable with the camera. But I just see it as like my slow progression and like progression towards starting a YouTube channel. I was getting comfortable with Instagram tutorials and putting those together, and just filming yourself on camera. It's kind of intimidating at first. So yeah, anyway, this has really special memories to me. Like I said, it's kind of weird that I have such fond memories of it because I didn't start my channel when I tried to with this, but still. It's all about, you know, the journey, right? Life is a journey, and little things that happen, just plant those seeds and whatnot. And I feel like me sitting down to record this, even though I never posted it, it definitely planted that seed and gave me that little feel of what it would be like to do a YouTube channel. And I remember just mulling over it and pondering it for so long. So I just feel like it was a step in my journey to where I am now. Okay, I feel like I'm talking way too much, so let me try and pick this up. Palette's worth the hype. Definitely the first thing that comes to mind is the Juvia's Place Tribe palette. I feel like anytime anyone mentions this, they have either nice things to say or amazing things to say about this. Like, I don't think I've ever watched anyone feature this or review it or talk about it and say it was bad or like a total dud. Like, I feel like anyone who uses this can say that either it's a nice palette, like it's good, it's nice, it's whatever, or it's amazing. Like, people love it, and there's very few critiques when it comes to this palette. Like, of course, any palette can have critiques, any palette can have a little bit of a dud. I feel like I remember this skipping a little bit. I am going to be reaching back for this and creating 3 looks. It'll be next month because I reached for what's on my eyes today, which is the Safari Rain from Colored Rain, because it's coming back, but I am going to be reaching back for this and I cannot wait. But this palette is just so unique and special when it comes to all the palettes that are available on the market. I feel like I'm really washed out again. What is my camera doing? I don't know. I'll fix it in a minute. But anyway, I feel like this is still very unique. Even though this came out so long ago and was so well received, I feel like you don't find many palettes like this on the market. Like, these 2 shades are very, very unique. This shade is beautiful and unique, and I like the other shades they paired it with. Everything is very harmonious, yet still there's that element of unexpected color. Like, I feel like this pop is very unexpected when it comes to looking at this palette. And just overall, there's just so much about this palette that I love. The color story is right up my alley. The quality of the shadows is fantastic from what I remember a year and a half ago, but I cannot wait to get back into it and reacquaint myself. And yeah, I really do like it, and overall this is definitely one that was very much hyped, and I still feel like everyone has good things to say about it, and for good reason. Okay, so a palette not worth the hype. This one I'm going to mention one, but I also want to mention another one I don't have in my collection. I really tried to stick to palettes that I own in my collection so I can actually show you, but the one that I have in my collection that I totally didn't think and don't think is worth the hype is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar. Now, you might be saying, like, Katie, this is totally not hyped anymore, but when I was first getting into makeup and first getting into blogging makeup and whatnot, this palette was so hyped, and there is a blog post on my blog reviewing this because I remember buying it. I was like, everyone talks about how amazing this is. I cannot wait to use it. It's going to be beautiful. I'm just so excited. It'll smell like chocolate. It's amazing. And I bought it, and I think I returned it because that's how disappointed I was. Okay, so I reviewed this in October of 2014, and I didn't think even my blog post is titled Too Faced Chocolate Bar Palette Worth the Hype Review. And let me see what I said at the end, but I remember just going like, what is everyone talking about? Okay, yeah, I said for me, however, I just don't find myself reaching for this as much as I expected / envisioned. Maybe I hyped it up too much in my mind. So yeah, this was just a palette that I was like, when I finally got it, I was just like, yeah, what is you talking about? And I did return it, but I did finally buy it. I want to say I bought it off like a Facebook group at a discounted price because I had all the other palettes and I kind of wanted to complete my collection. This was a couple years ago when I thought that was fun to have the whole collection, but I'll just keep it because at this point I just feel like it's too old. But yeah, I just remember getting this palette and just being like, wait, what's the hype about? Like, I really don't think that is all that amazing. So yeah, when now we're talking about not worth the hype, I have to mention this, but I also want to say I also think that the Urban Decay Naked palette was totally not worth the hype. That's another palette that I bought, and I think I just sold it off after I bought it. I finally bought it when it was on sale, and I was like, let me see what the hype is. And I ended up selling it or getting it. I don't have it anymore because it was just so boring. And I feel like I never really saw or envisioned or realized it, and I didn't hear enough people mentioning it, but there's only like 1 or 2 mattes in that whole palette. I need more mattes than that. So yeah, that was another palette that was totally not worth the hype in my opinion. Okay, we are almost done. I am talking way too much. Your favorite palette from a favorite brand. Can you guys guess? You guys know my favorite brand is Menagerie Cosmetics, and so maybe you already know this, but my favorite palette from the brand is the Whale Song palette. This palette is just so beautiful. I love how deep it is. I love how grungy it is, and I love the mix of green and blue, and yeah, everything about this palette, I like it so much. It's very much a more monochromatic. You can only get like the blue and the green look, so it's not super colorful in the rainbow, but when we're talking about grunge, this is the grunge that I like, and I just like the mix of colors. This is another palette that I really want to reach back for this year and maybe do a 3 looks 1 palette, or just at least play with it again. Would you guys like to see a 3 looks 1 palette? I feel like this got a good bit of hype when it launched, and a lot of people did eye tutorials with it, so maybe not. Maybe I won't do a 3 looks 1 palette, but I definitely want to bring it back out and just enjoy it. Yeah, had to give it to the Whale Song palette. This was another answer that was very easy. Did not take me any time to figure out. Okay, so I think the last one was the most used palette. I took these questions off of Angelica's video, so I'll leave her link down below and I'll find out who added the last question. But anyway, I'll leave links down below to Angelica and then whoever came up with the question after this. But I think Samantha and Allie Glines ended with the most used palette. I think. I should have rewatched their video before doing this. Anyway, I'll have everyone linked down below. But my most used palette, again, I have to throw out there that I'm not someone who is constantly going back to palettes. I like to try new palettes constantly, so I'm not often able to go back to palettes, and I'm not someone who is like, oh, I'm not doing a YouTube video, let me go reach for one of my favorite palettes. I'm always trying out palettes, so I usually have 3 or 4 that I need to test and get my final thoughts on so that I can share with you guys in my palette palooza reviews. So I'm always testing new palettes, so I rarely go back. But when I was thinking about this palette, there is one palette that I used once, I reviewed it, I brought it back again to compare for a dupe purposes on another palette, and then I've taken it traveling 2-3 times, and then I also reached back for it last year when I was sick with Levi, when I was pregnant with him, with morning sickness, and I used it a bunch then. So I was like, you know what, that's probably my most used palette. So it is the NYX Grind palette. This palette right here, once again, those grungy tones, this is kind of like my everyday, but I still like the color. But I still like the Killer Purr. I feel like the Killer Purr kind of replaced what this did for me, just because that gives me a little more variety, whereas this is a little more neutral and just kind of even toned. Anyway, moving on, this palette I have used so much. Like I said, I've taken at least 2, maybe 3 times flying, and then I reviewed it the once. I brought this back into my collection and used it a bunch of times when I was comparing it to the Subculture palette, and yeah, it looks pretty dusty actually looking at it. It looks quite well used. No dips or anything like that. I generally don't pan my shadows, but when we're talking about how many times I've used a palette, how many times I've reached back for it, the NYX Grind, that's discontinued and I don't know why, but the NYX Grind palette got that. Okay, so this question is I think the one Angelica said that they added to it, but it is your most underrated palette. And for me, I was thinking there's a lot of palettes I feel like are really great, but I feel like one I don't really hear many people talking about anymore is the Midas Cosmetics Lemonade palette. This is a palette that I feel like every shadow in here is great. Like there's no real dud. I never had any issues blending or packing on any of these shadows, and not really many people talk about it. I feel like a lot of people talk when it comes to yellow monochromatic palettes about the ColourPop one, and I know it's because the ColourPop is just more popular, but that palette is so like even toned. You know, you can't get many depths, many different type of looks with it because everything kind of looks the same. There's no really deep tone in there to deepen anything out. So everything just kind of looks very mid-tone to light and just the same, very neutral yellow. But this palette, there's just so much variety. You can get very vibrant. You can deepen it up with this look. Not a ton, but definitely a lot more than the ColourPop one. Like you can build that up and get a more deeper outer tone. You can get a very white yellow gold look. You can get a very yellow look. You can get more of a dirty mustardy type of yellow look. There's just so much variety with this palette. And like I said, all of the shadows, from what I remember when I used it last year, all of the shadows were great. Like I never had any issues with any of them. There were no problem with patching. There was no problem with pigmentation. It was just all around a really good selection of colors and selection of varying colors of yellow that I just feel like Midas Cosmetics did an awesome job putting this together, and not enough people give it the love it deserves. And I know too, I have to keep in mind that not many people are into yellow, so that probably has something to do with it. But me being a yellow lover, I feel like not enough people know about this, and not enough people know the beauty that you can get when it comes to this palette. And it's springtime right now, so like the perfect time to wear yellow and just feel bright and like a bee buzzing around is now. So anyway, I had to give it to the Lemonade palette because it's just such good quality, and I don't hear anyone talking about it anymore now that it's launched, and I feel like people should because it is fantastic. Alright, so there you have it. Those are all my picks when it comes to palettes for the Eyeshadow Palette Tag. I love talking about eyeshadow palettes, so anytime there is a tag or a type of video centered around talking about palettes that correlate to me and my answers to that, or just me and my preferences, I am all about that. So I could not wait to sit down and do this video, and I am just surrounded by palettes, many of them that I just love and adore and have such good memories related to them. So this was a ton of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope Levi wasn't too loud in the beginning. He's very vocal, so even though he's super happy, he's just grunting away down there. So anyway, I hope that wasn't too distracting in the beginning. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. If you liked this video, found it enjoyable, helpful, whatever the case may be, please give it a thumbs up on your way out, as it helps me in the whole YouTube algorithm. And yeah, with all that said, I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.